Nothing's changed, and it's a big one. Like, sometimes people don't feel comfortable saying no, or they don't because they don't want to let you down, kind of
Yeah.
thing. And hey, everybody, we know we're live. We're warming up. We're Brent and I could tell you, I say Brent and I'm not going to put Brent in the same category. I'm still working on getting warmed up for the year, and I know it is the 12th of January, but I'm in re-entry mode still. And it was good that we did this on Thursday last week because I started to kind of feel like I got my sea legs back a little bit, and kind of got into the vibe of the conversation.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's important to give people the space to say, not right now. Now, here's the other side. Um, you want to understand from their perspective why not right now. And the reason why
Right.
you want to understand why not right now is because something might be changing in the market. And we're kind of going through this inside the business as we do this shift that we've been doing around revenue and leadership, now kind of coming back into the revenue side of things, which is I'm got to be careful with myself because mentally I'm asking myself the question, am I quitting too soon? Meaning, am I quitting? Am I giving up on what I think is the future? You're skating to where the puck is going on the leadership side. Am I giving up on that because I know we can make money on the revenue side? And ultimately, what we've got to do is bring money into the business. And these are all decisions that you got to go through
Yeah.
and through and whatnot. And that was part of the focus of the newsletter this weekend, which is you're making decisions by design. So anyway, we're here on a Monday morning. It is Monday, January 12th. Brent, how you doing?
I'm doing great. Welcome to the week where everybody either says, I'm still trying to get into the new year, or hey, we've had almost 2 weeks to get into the new year. And everyone's like, yeah, we're in, we're dialed in, we're ready to go. I don't know anybody in that latter category, by the way.
I'm looking at my video right now, and I had meant to send out a video of this, and I'll send it out to a couple of other people we know. But I started messing around with the lighting, and I was like, okay, what happens if I turn it up or turn it down and do all of these other things? And I recorded each of them. And I was like, okay, this is lighting at this setting, and this is lighting at this setting. All of it looked the same. It didn't matter if it was at like 25 or not 25 is a little bit too low, but like 50 intensity versus
Yeah.
75 intensity versus 100 intensity. And what that tells me is my camera is doing different things to kind
I
of
was just
figure
going to
out.
say, you got to turn all the manual auto adjust stuff off. You got to freeze it to, automatic. You have to switch everything to manual so that it's locked in, and you have to physically make the changes to the camera, or else it's going to do that.
That's frustrating.
It is very frustrating because sometimes it's your app too. Sometimes you have this automatic make me look better feature in the platform that you're using. So you got your camera that does some wonky stuff automatically, and then you've got your platform that'll do some wonky automatic stuff for you. And then you even have, if you're pushing out to Zoom or whatever, those tools have automatic filters and features and stuff that adjust everything. So yeah, you got to turn it all off.
I had kind of solved for the other platform stuff because I was recording raw in Camtasia. So I just had it just going. But when I watched the playback, I was like, I cannot tell the difference. And then part of me was like, well, why have I been boiling myself? And it's not like they're hot, but like the brightness of the light coming down on me when these things are at 90% is very different than when they're at 75%. And if I could get away with them in a different setting, like this kind of setting where there's not going to be a lot of motion, like right now, you don't see really any shadows behind me. So this is good. This is a good typical setup, which is also a good typical setup for conversations with folks. And like let's say I'm on a Zoom meeting with someone or a Google Meet with someone. This is a good setup.
Yeah.
But it doesn't create the same kind of experience I want to create when I pull the microphone out and then I'm writing up on the whiteboard, because then you start to get some of the shadow. Yeah. See that kind of right there. You start to get that little shadow in there. But anyway,
it's so little though. You don't have to worry about that. It's just a little shadow.
It's just a little shadow. So I do have to go play around with manual settings is really where things have come to. So
Yes, indeed. We so anyways, yeah. So we're still waiting for Craig and Wendy to join us. Oh, look, there's Chris. Speak of the devil. You guys, when you're
this is
listening
awesome.
to us and
I
you're just
love this. I love
watching,
this when people are like, "You need to move to LED lighting." And thank you, Craig. Craig will put you in here. They are LED lights, so they're not really hot. And I said hot and boiling, and then I said not really, but it's just a brightness on it. So yes, they come on. I'm not a monster, Craig.
not using the incandescent bulbs setting your room on fire.
Stop chasing shadows. It will never end. Craig, I am going to use that quote in a LinkedIn post later this week because that is representative. That represents life. That hey Wendy, that represents life. It represents business. It represents self. It represents video. And for those of you who are not watching this, Craig's comment, which is profound, stop chasing shadows. It will never end.
Indeed. What I was going to say was, and thank you, Wendy, was when you guys join us and are watching us live, right, as soon as you get connected, just jump in and say, I'm here, or good morning, or give us the, I think this is what started the, where are you at and what's the weather like when doing idiotic, but asking the chat room in the intro phase, because it would get people talking in the chat and we could see, who's there and get everybody to pop up and we would know who's watching and whatnot. So anyways, yeah, let us
Plus,
know
it
you're
keeps
here.
me from rambling about, yeah, the stuff that I was rambling about as well.
Yeah, well, there's lots to ramble about. We didn't. So on Thursday, I'm trying to get better about having Slack open because I know you're a slacker and lots of people are using Slack. So, and I saw that LinkedIn post that had some 2026 predictions from Michael Lofe. I don't know how you say it. He's European, and have never known how to pronounce his name, but it is a great post. It totally reminded me. And it did spark some conversation. But there's also news today. So we could do that. And I don't know if you had a chance to look at that Gemini, but I shared it with you.
Um, what's your experience been? I pulled it up. What's your experience been with building gems?
So this was like, well, this wasn't my first one. I built a really dumb one when I was first learning
Yeah.
how to build them, but I didn't have any of my own content to add. And I think when I first started learning how to do it, in my mind, I had an agent or a gem. I was visualizing it like building it would I thought it was going to be like building a Mac widget or whatever, like
Okay.
using on the Mac there is a code. You can basically build your own just little widgets, right? Um it's like if this then that, is what I guess is a better way to put it, because everybody's familiar with that. So it's
Yeah.
like I kept thinking, oh, okay, so an agent will be like, go out and get this thing, and then look at this thing, and then build this thing, and then from that thing that you just built, now do these other things, and it doesn't. I can't figure out how to get the process right to build different things. So, for
Yeah.
example, the thing I sent you was a show producer, and it's awesome. I totally dig it. It totally blew my mind. And I was like, I am so gonna do this. I'm gonna totally produce this thing. Um, but what I have to do manually is create the images. And what I
Mhm.
want to do is just say, hey, like I wrote the prompt, um, but there's nothing that says, hey, when this prompt is done, take, or maybe there is, and I just don't know how to do it.
Yeah.
Take this output and whatever you have suggested here, create the images. So like
Oh,
I tell it to give me an image for each block. Like I did, then it's a news producer, right? So you got block A, block B, block C. Give me,
you
and
want to
then
show? Do you want to show people what you're talking about, or
yeah,
not
sure.
really?
What the heck?
Yeah, let's.
I
I
really
think.
don't want to, but I really want to talk about it, obviously. So,
Excuse me. Um,
but then we have to go back and do that predictions thing, I think, because I think those, well, or depending upon what's
hey,
in
I
the
may need
news,
you to
what everybody wants.
reshare. I think I missed hitting the button to help you do
Yeah,
that.
I haven't hit the share yet.
Okay.
Hold on a second.
Um, I created a gem this weekend, um, and it's the first one that I created, and shared it with Jen as we were going through some stuff. And I think what I realized in that conversation is is sometimes with some people it's just a little bit too early to share things. You know, like there are some folks who want to see the finished product. They don't want to know how the sausage was made. They just want to eat the sausage, or
Right.
they don't want to know how to build the watch. They want to know what time it is, like that kind of a thing.
Yep.
And I am fascinated by the watch building process, like that, like that, which I've got to remember, you know, in different operating environments, kind of what we're working through
Yeah.
and where
Not
you're
everybody
interested in.
likes that.
Huh?
Not everybody functions that way.
No, well, and yeah, and but I am shocked by what you can do with building gems in Gemini.
Hmm.
Um, and I'll get into that after you kind of go through and share a little bit about what you're kind of working through here and this how this how this looks. The other thing that's kind of interesting is the experience that you have when you're looking at the output versus the input piece.
Yeah.
Um, Craig says in ChatGPT, you can do it as a project, set the stage, and then share the articles and have it do it one at a time. And then when you ask it to produce an image, it'll iterate and ask you for input. Yeah. So there's a couple of different there are a couple of different ways that these different tools work. And one of the things I had asked Gemini as I was going through this process was, can I build something as a project? Because I wanted to keep adding different components to it. And
Hmm.
it said, no, you can't do the project piece. It doesn't really exist in this environment. But what you can do is build out a gem. And the gem ends up being, you know, basically your own person in chat GPT world to be your own personal GPT or your own custom GPT. And I think that's one of those important things to share with folks is they're getting more familiar using these tools. Each tool is going to have a slightly different way of looking at certain things. They're going to call things slightly different because they're working on it's their ecosystem, their operating system. The key piece to come back to is ask this question: what is the job to be done? What's the objective? What's the thing the the specific task that I'm trying to get through? And the way that Brent had described it, it was, hey, it put all of this stuff together. Now the next task is, okay, give me some imagery. And I would imagine it would start to push some of that into Nano Banana because of some of the integration that happens there.
Well, exactly. And that's kind of what I thought.
Yeah.
And I guess I just haven't really tested it yet. Maybe it totally does it and I just haven't. And so if you look at what I wrote here, I don't know if I need to zoom in or not. Let's see. So yeah, here, oops. Ah, okay, hold on.
Cool.
There's that window. So within
Yeah.
this window, so this is what I told it to do, the basic thing. It's like, you're, giving it context of who it is and then what it is we're trying to create. And then here's the goal. And then here's the process that I want you to go through. And so that's the trigger,
Cool.
right? Here's all the thing. And ask it to do these things. I said, select 3 stories, make story 1 breaking news, something that's really urgent. Story 2, make it tech related, and story 3, make it human, cultural, whatever.
Yeah.
And then I added this after the fact on my own. This isn't what it told me to do. I said, because I wanted to know what the other stories were in case I didn't like the ones it picked.
Yeah,
You
good,
know,
nice. Uh-huh.
I said, so make a list of up to 10 stories you found, but chose not to select for the script.
That's cool.
And that's what I think what we'll look at and talk
Yeah,
about today. Maybe, I don't know.
yeah,
But then I said, okay, now turn it into a script.
yep,
And so it gives you the cues, all that kind of stuff. I think my next iteration, I'm going to take out all the camera stuff because I'm not really going to need that. And then I said for visuals, so after the script, automatically provide 3 prompt descriptions for images that match the stories so the user can generate them immediately.
that's cool.
But why can't I just say generate 3 images based on each image based on story 1, story 2, story 3? You know what I
Right.
mean?
Yeah,
And
yeah,
that's where I only had a certain amount of time to
yeah,
do a bunch of testing on this. So from a process perspective, one is I want the script to be polished up enough, and then I want to be able to cut and paste it or have that just the script section put into a document that can be put into a teleprompter or used as a teleprompter, and then have those 3 images created and put into a specific folder, and then I can grab those images and they can automatically, using the URL of that folder, I can audit those images can be named a very specific name, like story 1 image or
yep,
image story 1, something like that, right?
yeah,
And then the streaming the production platform will just have a placeholder that is set to that folder, that URL, that direction, and it pulls up that name, that image name immediately. So let's
yep,
say I switch that image to a new
that's
image, but
cool.
it's got the
Yep,
same name,
yeah,
it switches to the new image kind of thing.
yeah,
So if I could create that and then just push a button and have all those assets generate, that's my goal. So when you're talking about, okay, what's your final output? What's the
yeah,
final thing you're going for?
yeah,
And I think step 1 is a lot of those steps are going to be manual, um, until I can figure out how I can get one gem to trigger another gem
yeah,
or something like that.
yeah.
Does that make sense?
It does, and I think there's the thing that I've gotten more comfortable with doing, and Craig had a comment. I'm throwing his comment in here so you can um is saying things like, "I'd like to do this. What do you recommend?" Um, or I just say, "I'd like to do this," and
Yeah.
don't even ask the "What would you recommend?"
Yeah.
Because
Oh,
just
and that's basically what I did to get started.
yeah,
But then once I got it dialed in, then I was like, okay. But yes, I think Craig is spot on in the sense that in the way my mind was working about it being a process, I kept thinking like it took me, I mean, it didn't take me long, but
yeah,
I
sure,
remember thinking all I want to do is click that gem, like over here where the
right,
gem is listed. I thought if I just clicked it, that would activate the gem and it would
yeah,
automatically do its thing.
yeah,
And that's not how it's working, right? Like
right,
if I click on this,
yeah,
it doesn't do anything. What I have to do is go into the, I still have to put a prompt in. I
yeah,
still have to say run the show.
yeah,
Right. And so now it's reading that whole and that longer prompt that I put into the gem,
right,
and it's trying to figure it all out. And now
yeah,
what I'll be really curious about is because I ran it earlier this morning,
yeah.
I'm wondering if it's gonna build the same thing or how different this run is gonna be.
The good, really good conversation in the chat here, and the comments are going back and forth around this whole piece around from a design perspective, deconstructing things into smallest into the smallest pieces, like one step at a time, and then
Yep.
move on to the next step. And then you start to get into this kind of like thinking about if this, then that type protocols that you
Mhm.
apply to these things. And these, ultimately the way that we would look at this back in the day, when we were shouting at clouds, you'd have all of these different branching scenarios where you start to look at and say, okay, when this happens, do this. And then if this happens, do that. And you see these branches that move along. And the tools are getting so good, and the speed at which they're evolving is absolutely amazing. The tools are getting so good that you can you can build in flight throughout the process, and then figure out where and when and how you want to adjust and iterate. So as much as you want to do the design backward, execute forward type stuff in small pieces, you can make mistakes and then start over again really quickly and not lose a lot of stuff, which is kind of cool. The thing
Yeah.
that we did that I was messing around with this weekend was around testing for 3 different personas that are out in the marketplace. Owner of a business, family run business that's over 40 years old and is profitable. Um, and some of the objectives, challenges that they run into from a leadership perspective. The new leader who gets moved into a new role inside a high growth tech organization, and then one other one that I was testing around with. But here's where things got super interesting: is after getting back some feedback around the types of searches that folks are looking for in those specific areas, I then said, scan by YouTube channel and identify the videos that will resonate most directly with, and did these as all 3 different ones. Absolutely fucking shocked by the way that the information was returned. And I know people don't like it when I swear and all that other kind of stuff, but whatever. Like, it was so cool to see those videos from my channel get returned back, and then reasons why those are the ones that would land with this audience, all tied to feedback that and I forget what YouTube's AI assistant is, but if you go into your YouTube channel, if you have a YouTube channel, you go into the channel and you go into the studio, there's an Ask Studio assistant. I think that's what the name of it is. It'll give you feedback around what's working and what's not working on your specific channel. So I took its feedback and incorporated it into Gemini, and then said, given this feedback, what would you recommend? It started recommending hooks to start the video with, and then areas of focus. Now, they weren't things that I would necessarily do, meaning they didn't necessarily um Craig hates to go do something, but he's going to go about doing it. So I think
Keep
Craig,
talking. I'm reading it and
I'm
catching
looking
up,
at
and
you
then we'll
over
go
comment
into it.
I just threw your comment up there, but it was so cool to see um it be able to go after a large group of content in a specific area without me having to upload individual videos from the channel into something like Notebook LM, and then have Notebook LM start doing this stuff. Gemini was able to do it inside that system. So hey, Craig just said, for those who aren't watching the video, hate to go back to my example, but I started a project in ChatGPT. The first prompt was just putting all my guitar equipment in a list and letting the tool know that my further inquiries in this project will take those into consideration. Then, if something, yeah. So I mean, I think this is the example that Craig's giving here, which is really cool. Is, look, these are the resources that I have available to me. Each time you're engaging on this, know that those resources are the ones that I have. The one that you'll hear a lot of people use in that example is, they'll say, all right, here's all the stuff I've got in my fridge. What can I make? And if you haven't done that kind of thing, try it and see what comes up. You might be surprised about what the tool suggests that you make as it starts to incorporate different tastes and whatnot. Yeah, I think the the key in Craig's, and you can't see the full thing when we show it in here because it gets cut off by the comment, but what I really like about Craig's comment here is how important focus is. So by providing a level of clarity into the system, you can create a level of focus, and that focused attention can help reduce um, um, risk and increase likelihood of success. And
Yeah,
to
you know what's interesting about that from a design perspective is that that I've always found giving yourself like pre AI, I would always give myself guide rails. Like
oh
having the
yeah,
blank open slate
yep,
was always so incredibly difficult for my mind.
yeah,
And it's interesting, but makes perfect sense that not the AI has the same problem. It's like if you just ask it a generic question, it kind of loses its shit and just kind of goes all over the place and has to make a bunch of guesses and it freaks out. But if you give it some context, give it some guide rails, give it a whole bunch of restrictions and constraints, it'll crank out exactly what you need. But if you don't know what you want before you get started, it's hard to do. But then again, the beautiful thing about AI is you can just, if you don't know what constraints to give it, you can ask it. You can say, hey, I don't know what the constraints are I should give you. What would you give yourself? Or, what would be the best way for me to go about doing this to make it easier for you, Mr. AI, or whatever. I mean, it will coach you along the process. And I think that was the piece that took me the longest to figure out when I first started really getting into the AI stuff was I didn't have to think of everything. If there was something about the AI tool that I didn't understand, I could just ask the tool to tell me about it, right? And
uh,
how are other people doing XYZ? And it comes back and it tells you it may be right or it may be wrong, whatever, but at least it gives you some ideas. And that it's in situations like that where I don't really care about the hallucination fear that everybody has,
yep,
and that it's fake. All I'm really looking for is some 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 banter, some conversation back and forth with the AI to help trigger and start sparking the different creative thoughts and things that I know I can come up with. I just need some back and forth with either, like another human, or knowing that the AI can be that for me
yeah.
was a real unlock for me.
The Wendy's comment in here, it's an intern treat it almost like a kid with every step with that whole deconstructing piece. The
Mhm.
yeah, the to build on that unlock, one of my favorite questions to ask people, and I usually get pretty good feedback on this one, like and not the same bullshit. Ooh, that's a really good question type stuff where they're just trying to create more space. Like it can stop people in its tracks. And Brian, you've probably heard me say this one before, but the question is, what is something you expected me to ask that I didn't? And when you pause and wait for the response, there's magic that happens, and there's a couple of different iterations of it. Like, what's something you
Yeah.
expected me to ask? What's something you expected us to discuss that we didn't discuss? Like, there's a couple of different things around there around what did you anticipate that we didn't ultimately get to, and asking the tool that question can be super powerful. Like, hey, what did I not ask that I should have, or what am I not seeing here? Like, what's the thing beyond the thing, because we all have blind spots. And what I'm hopeful about is that the emergence of these tools is going to help improve our ability to ask questions.
Yeah, and I absolutely. I think, and I think it's going to do that. Hey, for the sake of time, we're already at the 6:30 mark, but let's take a look at the notes, or the headline stories today, because I think what we're talking about kind of fits into them
Cool.
as well. If so, the top story, of course, is and it's interesting because I'm not sure. I haven't seen people really talking about it or anything. So, the White House moves to block state level AI laws, creating chaos for compliance teams. So it found a lot of stories on that, but I haven't seen anybody talking about it really on LinkedIn, which is, to me, is interesting, in the sense that there's a lot of things going on that impact L&D, and but yet my stream is typically filled with L&D thought leaders and L&D people, but things like that are rarely what it is they talk about. So that's one of the, and this happens quite a bit for me. But anyways, and the second one being the gem era. So we were talking about building gems. Google's new customizable AI agents are reshaping how instructional designers build workflow learning. And then the third big story, the one that's supposed to be culture related or people related, is the leadership void, which is in your wheelhouse. Why performance management is officially dead in 2026 and what's replacing it. And
I
then
love when I
and
love
then it's
when
got
things are
all the stories that it skipped.
I love when things are dead.
Oh, I know.
Yeah, I'm just gonna throw a couple of Craig's comments up here. Likes the questions, and then and the impact there. Any of these headlines, what would you rather get into? Do you want to get into one of the headlines, or do you want to get into the rejected stuff? Like, what's a
I don't,
and
you know what I kind of want to do is just keep riffing off of what I mean, I don't know. My head's all over the place. So um I think what's interesting is, and I had this idea over the weekend for different types of segments or different types of shows to be produced.
okay,
And the one idea was around, I think you and I have talked about this a little bit, but I was trying to flesh it out a little bit over the weekend. Was I'm doing an so having multiple people on the live stream. Each person is an a user of, I wanted to say expert, but I won't call it expert. If we find experts on a particular platform, great. But
yep,
let's say we've got one person that's Gemini, another person is Chat GPT, another person is Copilot, and another
yep,
person is whatever. When we can pre-plan it out to have a project or something, right? And say, okay, now each one of you use your platform to go and do the thing. And we just see where the conversation goes
yeah,
as everybody's going through the process of working within their platform of choice to to make the final outcome, or just see what happens, or just have that one trigger of the, we want to use AI for this one particular thing, and then run with it. I don't know. What do you think? Because it seems like it's a great way for people to see all the tools in action
yeah.
and to have the conversation about what's possible and what's not possible. Because I think a lot of people are, will we'll see somebody like Melissa Milloway doing some really cool things with the robots and all that kind of stuff. And she does a great job of explaining how she does it, but maybe she's using a tool that some people, that's not the tool they use. And
Yeah.
so then it's not useful. And then somebody else does something really cool in a different tool. And for the person watching that, it's like, oh, there, that's not, it's not done in Gemini. So I don't know how I would do the same thing in Gemini or whatever.
Um, I think it's a really cool idea, and I think what the first one that comes to mind is getting Craig's list of all of the music equipment he's got in his room, and then have the have the different LLMs do their thing around solving for a given problem like that. Because it's there's so many times that we fall into this trap of, well, that's not what it's like inside my business. Like, I don't have those those things, or that's not how it works here. And by separating it and saying, well, here, let's do it in this example, and then take the core concepts and ideas and structure and process and now apply it back into the thing that you're working on in your business, can be super powerful. I ran into a bit of a conflict in our business, and I joke about it this way, but the I ran into a bit of a conflict inside our business when when I introduced Gemini this weekend, because we literally have done everything in OpenAI and ChatGPT and have everything, just all the workflow is there. So now all of a sudden, the initial, like, visceral response from Jen as we were going through this was, without saying it out loud, but I could see it and feel it. It was, um, it was, now I got to learn a new tool, and it's not the that's the it's and we've got to remember our the people that we work with may or may not get as excited about what you can do with certain tools as you're working through the learning process of
Yeah.
figuring whether they're baked, half baked, or not baked. So I
It's
yeah,
it's an incredible leadership. It's a moment of leadership clarity, and that causes all sorts of problems, right? When people say, we've got a culture problem or whatever, or when leadership, especially executive leadership, that they aren't the ones, like, quote unquote, doing the work, they rarely take that kind of thing into perspective. And so they'll push out a new initiative that in their mind is the coolest new damn thing that the company is going to experience.
yeah.
And it's going to help the company grow its profits and blah, 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 and all these things. And so they get up in front of their annual or their monthly meeting, and they're like, we're going to be doing this thing and we're going to be rolling it out and blah, blah, blah. And they don't understand why everybody's not super psyched about it. And didn't take into consideration that, you know, they're knee deep in other shit right now. And, or they're not good at change.
Yeah.
And, they need to know more detail. They can't just, they can't function up here in the fancy strategy, hey, great idea layer that you can, because they're the ones that have to execute on your crazy, stupid idea. So, they're thinking of all the things that are going to go wrong and all the details involved. And you're just like, let's do this thing, and it freaks
And
them
then
out.
and then you have to transition from that conversation to dinner. Like, yeah. So it just adds
Tell everybody that with your new idea comes a bonus.
yeah,
And that kicks them into gear right away, but it rarely
the
happens. But yeah,
Wendy
management
likes
leadership.
the idea. She says it sounds like fun. Craig says use the exact same prompts, and actually, I would say no.
Yeah,
I
I
think
would
it's
say
kind of
just no. We want a goal. Like
yeah,
let's put something in front of them and let everybody decide
yes,
how they want to
yeah,
go forward. Right? Like, for example, the guitar thing. Like Craig could build a spreadsheet, a list of all of his stuff, and all we do is share the spreadsheet with everybody and just say,
right,
we want to XYZ. Here's the goal. Here's what we would like to do. Here's your raw material. Let's go build.
yes,
Right. I,
yeah.
I think it would be, I think it would be super, I think it would be super cool. And I think it's the type of learning environment that is needed in our industry. And I think would be really, really valuable. I'm thinking to myself, and maybe you guys can think this through with me too and shoot me ideas or something. But I'm thinking, like, it's got to be a 2 hour, at least minimum an hour and a half. I think a 90-minute gig. Um, I don't know, maybe some of the projects go a lot faster and they are shorter, but I'm thinking if we constrain ourselves and say, oh, these are only going to be a certain time frame, I think we're going to be I think we need to run it kind of like a workshop. So it would need to be like a monthly thing that we do it, or every other week. I'd love to do it every week, but I know, like, getting 4 people into a live stream on the same date at the same time is a next to impossibility. So
I think it's a cool idea. Let's
yeah.
figure it out how we execute on it. The I'm already thinking like tools Tuesday or work out loud Wednesday, or something, some kind of thing that draws in. But and I also wonder what would happen if we said, no, look, you've got a 25-minute Pompodoro that you get to apply this in. What can you make happen inside 25 minutes? It doesn't have to be perfect. Like, what can you make happen inside 25 minutes? And it starts to help people shift their brain around what can be done in a shorter period of
Oh,
time.
yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
might be something.
Yeah.
So, for those of you who are who for Wendy, Craig, share your feedback, share your perspective. We've had a couple of other people kind of pop in. The only ones I've seen comments on have been Wendy and Craig. But if you've got some ideas around what you'd like to see here, and and people that you know that are experts inside it with specific platforms. Um, I can tell you, I'm testing all of them. I'm testing all of them. I'm testing ChatGPT. I'm testing Gemini. I'm testing um, with Perplexity. I haven't really done much on the Copilot side of things, but I've done a little bit inside Notebook LM. But yeah, the testing piece is part of the fun. Is a fun part of the process.
Yeah. Well, I initially doing this whole, be my executive producer thing. My first question to Gemini was use Notebook LM, because I thought Notebook LM would be a good place to store everything and
Right.
have it just from my, because I remember I told you one of our last shows that the Notebook LM still thing is still kind of, I'm not too sure why it's a totally different thing or whatever. I'm still working through that, my issues with Notebook LM. But anyways, I said, let using Notebook LM and Gemini Gems be my executive producer. And it went through
Mhm.
and it listed all these things and how it would do it and all that kind of stuff. And I was like, doesn't seem like you want to use Notebook LM. Everything,
Right.
So I was like, so my next prompt was, let's not use Notebook LM. Let's just use Gemini Gems. And it was like, that's a great idea. Let's just automate it all in that. And that's how I got to just using and building the gems. So
Yeah. The thing that was really cool that I saw with using the gem is as I added in um, the new requirements, the gem itself knew where to put those requirements, which is really cool. Like I didn't have to say, do this first, then do this, then do that. It,
So when you put something into the prompt window, it would add something else into that description window.
yeah, yeah, it
Oh, I
was pretty
didn't.
cool. Um,
I typed that stuff in myself.
I was like, you do my bidding. I'm, this is what I want. This is where I want it to come from. How would you do this? And yeah, and Wendy, I'm running into the same thing. So Wendy put in this. I tried to get Notebook LM for work, but Google wouldn't even call me back for an enterprise account. The other thing that I'm really having a hard time mentally with, and it's just my therapy session. Um, I've got two, two different two different Google Workspace accounts that are out there. Both, one is the Catalyst Sale one, and then the one is the Find My Catalyst. The
Yeah.
two different Google Workspace instances. Um, in order to get Gemini to do the stuff that I need to do, I have to do it on my personal account. Like I haven't been able to get it to unlock some of the things there are different things that you can do with Gemini on a personal Gmail account versus what you can do in in a Google Workspace account,
Right.
which I understand. Conceptually, ultimately, I understand from a security perspective. There's some things that you want to provide access to, and you don't want to provide access to. Here's the challenge: when people want to figure it out, they're going to figure out a workaround, and they're still going to be able to connect it to the thing. So I'm still able to connect it to the shit that I want to connect it to, but they're saying, no, 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 you cannot do that in a Workspace account. But I can go ahead and connect other crap to it. So it's like, come on, Google, what are we doing here? But it's also early stage. Like I think the reason why they're really promoting the gems piece is they're trying to figure they want more input on that side so that they can learn what are people looking for and where are things at. So I've got another question though for you on the on the building agents and iteration. Do you know who Ralph Wiggins is?
No.
All right. You have homework.
Okay.
So Brent's homework for tomorrow to help set the stage for tomorrow's conversation around this. Figure out, do some, just do some digging, and this is going to be a rabbit hole. So just time bound yourself. Like I can only give myself 25 minutes to do this thing.
Pomodoro.
Yeah, Pomodoro. Um, do a search for Ralph Wiggins and Ryan Carson, and get ready to have your mind blown. And anybody else who wants to partake in that little test, go do it, and again,
My
get ready to have your mind blown.
and
And
before we go, something that Craig would probably be interested in. Did you happen to see the post? I'm trying to still write this down while I'm talking. Um, from Brandon Carson, where he asked Chat. He was talking about Sammy Hagar and he asked Chat GPT where the original band that Sammy was in, where it got its name. And Chat GPT got it wrong. It is so wrong. It was interesting as somebody reading it who knew the answer. When he first started the Sammy Hagar thing, he had me hooked. So I'm like, oh, Brandon Carson and Sammy Hagar, two things I never thought would go together, but I'm totally fine with that. and 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 I'm reading through it and I'm thinking to myself, where in the heck is he going with this? And then he mentioned Montrose, and where did they come up with the name of the band? And I'm like, it was the guitar player's name. And he's like, ChatGPT told me it was the name of the city where they produced the album, or something like that. I'm like, no, that's not it. Everybody knows that it's Ronnie Montrose. It's like, you know, but he had to go to I forget what the other one was that he went to, but basically the point of the post was he was jumping back and forth. He was taking the output from one and putting it into the other one and then back and forth and trying to get it to understand. But it was interesting to see the responses from each of the tools trying to figure out how to get the answer right.
Yeah.
But yeah. So
trust but verify, friends. Trust but verify.
Yeah, I just thought that was just a funny thing over the weekend. If you guys find Brandon Carson's post on that, it's a good one. So if you're into that kind of thing, if you're like Sammy who, then forget about it. Move on.
All right. Better lead
I think we're
singer for
good.
Van Halen. Hagar?
Van Hagar, yeah, the whole thing. Yeah,
Hagar or David Lee Roth? Which one?
Oh, totally. Well, see, I'm a Sammy guy, but I like Sammy's own stuff. I like Sammy's solo stuff. And then I like original Van Halen. I like Van Halen with David Lee Roth. It's like, that's when people say Van Halen, it's frozen in time with Diamond Dave. Those, I saw them in concert a couple times when I was a kid.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, and he's as crazy and as whacked as he is. An amazing performer, especially back then, when rock and roll was just awesome. Yeah, he was definitely a performer and good at it. But I love the Sammy Hagar stuff. I love the Montrose stuff. I love Sammy's early stuff, and I liked it when Sammy finally got kicked out of Van Halen and started doing his own stuff again. So, it's very poppy when Sammy Hagar got into it, but some of those songs on the Van Hagar albums are pretty good.
There are some good songs.
I won't take that away.
It was like I think Cabo Wabo is a good, fun song.
Yeah, for sure.
There are some people who don't, whatever. It's a good song, but it gets into that's like embodying Hagar, I would imagine. Like,
yeah,
I've never hung out with Sammy, so I don't know what his real thing or what his vibe is, and have not gone deep into any of that kind of stuff. But that's him putting his imprint and the band coming together and doing something. So one of the things that popped up in my Twitter feed or X feed the other day was Eddie Van Halen on the Letterman show when Valerie Bertinelli was a guest, and Eddie gets up and plays with the band on Letterman, Panama. And it is absolutely freaking amazing.
Yeah.
And it's
I've
so
seen
you just do a sort. Have you seen it before?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's absolutely amazing.
Yeah, it is. It's quite incredible to watch. It's It's an incredible loss for us to have lost the master. But for me, it was always just the guitar licks that were always great. Like I love Pound Cake. It was a
Yeah.
great song,
Yep.
but it's got a great guitar riff, right? I mean, I'm not much of a lyric guy. I don't really
Yeah.
care what they're singing about or what they're talking about. If it's got a good groove and a good, guitar riff that drives the whole thing, then I'm all in.
Yeah.
People are like, "Oh, that song is really dumb." I'm like, "What do you mean dumb? That guitar riff is totally awesome." And I'm thinking, "That's a great song." And they're like, "Oh, I don't, what's the guitar riff?" And because they're like a lyrics person. I've noticed this about music. It's like, you either have the actual, somebody's either way into one of the pieces of, one of the instrumentations in a band in music, or they're into vocals and lyrics. And it's like, oh, they're like, oh, I love that song. And I'm like, it's such a lame song. And then they start talking about the lyrics that are in it. Yeah. They're like, yeah, but you do know what they're singing about. And they start talking about the lyrics. And I'm like, oh, you're a lyrics person. Okay. So I get it. I get it. They could care less about, the, the train that the lyrics got to sit on to get them to, the song. It doesn't matter. It's just what they were singing about. So, anyways, random
There we go.
idiocy as we close out our show for the day.
All right. So, Brent, you've got some homework. You're going to
I
take
do have
25
some homework.
minutes.
I'm gonna Ralph Wiggins. What
No
was
more
the
than 25
name?
minutes. And you're going to do a search for Ralph Wiggins and Ryan Carson. Just do that
Ryan.
search. Give yourself 25 minutes. Don't take any more than that. And Wendy, Craig, if you want to do that as well, if you've not seen it, go take a look, and then let's make that part of the conversation tomorrow. Or if at the end of the 25 minutes you're like, Simmons, I have no idea why the heck you sent me down on that rabbit hole. I don't even know where the hell you were going. Then we won't even bring it up again, and it'll just disappear into the ether. Brent, where can people find you?
Just hit me up on my LinkedIn. That's the best place to go. All the things.
Wendy, awesome last comment in there. On my side, you can find your catalyst at findmycatalyst.com. We finally hit 100 subscribers on that thing. Let's go.
Hey, nice. Your YouTube channel, are you at 1,000 subscribers yet?
YouTube channel, I am currently at 9. We've been alternating between 978 and 977. Like we add one and then someone disappears. So we're at 970. As of this morning, we're at 977. So
well, let's pimp that so people can, everybody get in there and just go ahead and subscribe to Mike's YouTube channel so he can monetize it. Yeah, apparently you have to hit 1,000 before you can monetize a YouTube channel.
There's different thresholds, 500 and 1,000, and then different thresholds around hours watched, and then viral stuff on the shorts. So there's a couple of different pieces there. But yep, if I would appreciate it if you and your friends subscribe. So thank you.
Perfect.
Same bad times.